recruiting update, and it is upon us, guys. Georgia is actually going to be one of the biggest recruiting weekends in the history of Texas football. And let me say that again, in the history. I am not stuttering when I say that. It is going to be a gigantic weekend. You're going to have guys from 26, 27, 25. You're going to have probably over 50 guys at the Georgia game. It is important on the field. It is very important off the field. Guys, whether you want to believe it or not, recruiting helps you and is the majority of the reason why these teams win national championships. You have to recruit, in my opinion, at a top 7 level. That's basically the cutoff of every other team you've seen. You want to push it back a little bit. There's been teams like Clemson and Michigan who have recruited in the top 12 level, but then they bring in that guy at quarterback. If you don't have that guy at quarterback, Jake Coker, for example, at Alabama, you have to recruit at an elite level. So let's talk about Texas, which is currently recruiting at that elite level. They are number 5 in the country currently, number 6 according to some. They have plenty of recruits committed already. And let's jump into guys that are going to be visiting for Mississippi State and also other weeks. Javon Hilson, who is uncommitted at the edge position, is coming in to visit Texas. This is a guy Texas has been trying to get on campus for a long time. He was committed to Florida State, recently decommitted about a month ago, I believe. To me, he is a Texas lean. Let's put it this way. I already have a thumbnail for him committing to Texas. He says he wants to have 5 visits lined up. Texas is one of those visits. I'm not sure of the other 4 at this moment, but it came down to Florida State and Texas last time before he decommitted from Florida State. So I fully expect Texas to be in the driver's seat here. In my opinion, this is a battle Texas should win. He would be a welcome sight for us on the 40 acres here for Texas. He's a 4-star, 32nd player in the country and number 2 edge in this 2025 class. Tremendous player. If you get Lance Jackson, Josiah Sharma, Myron Charles, Javon Hilson, Smith Orogbo, that is a hell of a defensive line class. We've talked about that. It could end up being the best defensive line class in the country right now. Right now, I'd have to go with Georgia in that aspect. But Javon Hilson is expected to visit this weekend versus Mississippi State. I think there's a really good chance he commits to Texas this weekend, and I will be here to break it down for you. So like and subscribe. Also, Michael Terry III is expected to visit October 19th for the Georgia game. Like I said, big weekend for Texas on and off the field. He is a high 4-star recruit on 247. I use 247 composite, and he's a high 4-star there on 247 itself. He's a 5-star. I forget what service is lacking behind. Most likely it's ESPN. ESPN is a trash recruiting service. You should not use them if you're going to use just one site. He is the number 1 athlete, no matter where you look, 35th player nationally, according to the composite. And this is a guy, to me, guys, we see what Juan Davis is doing at the H-back position. This is a guy that can take it to the next level. This is a guy that can line up at tight end, play the Gunnar Helm role. This is a guy that can line up at H-back, play the Juan Davis role. This is a guy that can line up at wide receiver. This is a guy that's being recruited to Oregon as a running back. So this is a guy that can do almost anything on the football field offensively. Hell, I think he could probably be a decent defender as well if he wanted to be. He does want to play wide receiver. That has been made known. I think right now, if I had to rank where I think he goes, I think Texas is 1, I think Nebraska is 2, and I think Oregon is 3. And they were wider a couple weeks ago when we talked about this than they are now, or further back, than they were a couple weeks ago. They were further back a couple weeks ago than they were now, or are now. Getting tongue twisted over here. And I think they have made up some ground there. I think Nebraska honestly has the best pitch right now because, which hurts to say, but I do still think Texas leads, but Nebraska could make up for it. They have a lot of NIL money. They're willing to spend, and they want a wide receiver, and they need wide receivers. No offense to Isaiah Nayer. I like Isaiah Nayer, but coming off multiple injuries at Texas and Wyoming, he's lost a step. He has. And I think Michael Terry can come in there and be wide receiver 1 or 2 right away, get really good money, I can't say anything bad about Nebraska. They packed the stadium. They're starting to win now. They're recruiting well. So, and you get to play with Dylan Raiola. So to me, I would worry more about Nebraska here than Oregon. Oregon pitching running back is weird to me. I think it's a bad fit. And I think I love Texas's pitch of just come here and be a weapon. We'll use you in whatever way you want, but you're going to be a weapon here. You're going to play all different positions. You're going to get the football. You're going to be involved in the game plan early on. So Michael Terry is visiting October 19th. I think you could see him commit there as well. 4-star wide receiver Kelshawn Johnson, who is currently committed to Texas A&M. He is visiting October 19th for the Georgia game as well. This is a guy I could definitely see flip to Texas. Kelshawn Johnson fits in that mold of what we need right now at wide receiver. You have Jamie French. You have Khalid Lockett. Khalid Lockett is more of the go up, get the ball from you, threat. Jamie French is more open space, can make you miss threat. Kelshawn Johnson is pure speedster. That is what we need right now in this class if we do hold on to Khalil Lockett and Jamie French. Kelshawn Johnson is what we're missing. We need that speedster wide receiver. And let's be honest here. Texas A&M, where I think they are headed, I think Connor Wegman actually gives you a better chance to keep Kelshawn Johnson. I think Marcel Reed's going to hurt your chance because you're going to run the football more. Now, Mike Elko's doing what he has to do. I think Marcel Reed gives you a better opportunity to win football games. But I think Kelshawn Johnson is going to look at it and say, why would I want to go there and run block, be kind of a gimmicky wide receiver, use me in the reverse in a sweep type or a jet sweep type game, reverses, stuff like that. That's what you're going to see when they are getting the wide receivers involved. You're not going to have many deep shots, in my opinion. And if you do, it's not going to be very often. So I think Kelshawn Johnson will look at that and maybe like, I can get early playing time, but I'll be used weird. That could hurt my NFL stock. I'll probably get less playing time at Texas, but my NFL stock will go up. It's going to be honestly what he wants. If he wants early playing time, wants to play right away, and he thinks he can just basically he's too good for or he's really good and he can overcome the scheme, then we'll go to A&M. If he's willing to sit, play less reps, but be probably drafted higher, he'll come to Texas. So it's going to be very interesting. And that's crazy that I get to say that because I didn't used to be able to say that. But I think this is a good flip guy. I think there's a really high possibility. And when I'm saying all these guys' names, I think there's a really high chance they come to Texas. I'm not going to waste my time on a Decorium Moore right now when there's nothing to me that says he will flip from Oregon. Madden Faramo. I said last week, and it is now being widely reported, USC is going to be the bigger player over Notre Dame. And I'll tell you right now, USC has that connection with Samoan players, Islanders, and also they really need help on the defensive side of the ball with a run thumper at the linebacker position. We just saw what Michigan did to USC. Madden Faramo would really help USC in the run game right away as a freshman. The guy's 6'3", 230 as a freshman. You put him in a college program, he's going to be 240 plus. When he gets on camp. Well, he'll probably be 240 as a freshman after conditioning and everything. So I think right now it used to be Notre Dame was leading, then he got on Texas campus and he really loved the visit, and that's why he pushed back his commitment and he could have been at Notre Dame already. I think right now, honestly, it's Texas, USC, and then Notre Dame has fallen to 3 here. Johnny Nansen obviously has a fantastic relationship with him. He's working that angle. And we'll see if that resonates with Madden Faramo. I really respect the way Madden Faramo has handled this. He's coming this with an open mind. He came to Texas thinking, I'm going to go to Notre Dame. It blew him away. He loved it. So he's like, you know what? I really have to rethink. And now USC's coming heavy and ready to go. And it's going to be interesting how this turns out. I honestly think if Texas continues to win, and I think USC ends up winning probably 8 or 9 games, I think he ends up at Texas. Now, if USC is able to turn this around, and I'm not even going to say turn around, I always thought Michigan was a good football team. I said it after we beat them. They're still a college football playoff contender. But if USC is able to be a college football playoff contender and end up in the top 15 in the country, I think it makes it even. Because I do think if everything's even, guys, he will end up at USC. I just see him in the USC uniform. It's the old uniform test. Can you imagine this guy in this uniform and this uniform? I think he ends up at USC. If they end up winning 10 games, I think he goes to USC. Now, if they end up winning 8, and we end up in the national championship, I think he ends up at Texas. But right now, I would give Texas the slight advantage here with USC at number 2. A guy that we were kind of late on, but we've been trending well for it, Nathaniel Osuji-Boakye from Bradenton, Florida, from IMG Academy, that factory of NFL players down there, 4-star linebacker, 75th in the nation. He's more of your sideline to sideline guy where Madden Faramo's north and south hits you downhill. This guy can run sideline to sideline. He's a burner. He's a really good player. I'm excited we offered him. I don't know what took so long, but I think we have a little bit of catching up. He was just at Michigan this last weekend. Thoroughly enjoyed his visit. We have a Michigan channel. TJ said he really liked his visit. He is uncommitted, and he has an official visit to Texas on October 19th. I think he would be a fantastic addition to this linebacker room with Jonathan Cunningham. That would get you your 2 guys that can run sideline to sideline. That's why I love Madden Faramo as well, because then you get your thumper. If you have your thumper plus these 2 guys with Jonathan Cunningham, and then hopefully Nathaniel Osuji-Boakye plus Elijah Barnes. I mean, guys, we were just talking about possibly the best defensive line in the class. If we land some of these guys, this could be the best linebacker room. If we get Nathaniel Osuji-Boakye, Madden Faramo, Jonathan Cunningham, and Elijah Barnes, that is insane. That is an insane haul for Texas at the linebacker room. And then a guy that we talked about last time that I said, hey, he was kind of spurned by Texas. He went to A&M, and that's Chase Sims. Texas is starting to heat up there, guys. There's a real chance he flips to Texas. He visits this week for Mississippi State as well. I may have to jump on live, or hopefully he does it after the game because I will be here for post game, and I can just go into that with Chase Sims because Chase Sims may flip from A&M. He wanted to come to Texas. Texas did not give him really the time of day. And I was worried that would come back to haunt Texas, but he seems to be very open to coming into Texas, and that is good for Texas. And anytime you get someone on campus, they do a fantastic job of pitching when they are on campus. So there's a real chance Chase Sims comes. He's a 3-star, but he's 6'2.5", 305. He's a big guy. That's what you look for on both the offensive and defensive line is the big, like Kyle Flood said, big humans. So it's going to be very interesting if Chase Sims does flip to Texas after coming for this weekend for a visit. It's awesome that we're getting him on campus. Next up, we have Kevin Wynn. If you remember, this guy visited in the offseason. He's the guy that wanted to become a culinary chef. Texas took him around to multiple different restaurants in the Austin area. He's committed to Florida State currently, but he plans to be on campus. And plans, that's a very dangerous word. We need to get him on campus. Just like Chase Sims, getting him on campus is the biggest thing. If we get him here, guys, I trust this staff to close. So when these guys do plan a visit, whether that's other guys I'm not going to talk about today, I will be here for you and let you know, hey, if they're coming to Texas, there's a really good chance this staff can either get him committed or flip him. And I think there's a chance for Kevin Wynn if he does get on campus. I will say this, and I think this is very important. When he visited, his parents did not come with him. Texas wants to get the parents involved, which makes complete sense. If you can get the parents on board, it's usually easier to get the kid on board. It's very hard vice versa. So I think it's going to be interesting. We'll see if they are able to do that. If not, that sucks, but I really hope they are able to get him on campus, especially with the parents. You saw Smith Orogbo obviously bucked that trend. He came to Texas, no parents, with him, and he only came one time and he ended up at Texas. So maybe we don't have to get him on board, but it would be nice to get him on board because I do think it helps. And I'm going to be straight up honest here too. A guy that wants to become a chef, to me, that shows a lot of like cultural, I don't know, really good background, really good standing with the parents. Like they're very, like, honestly, they come from a good family. If you want to become a chef, like that's high aspirations. That's hard to do. So I would love to get the parents on board for this visit as well. Joseph Mbachu, 6'4.5", 275 from Georgia. We have talked about him constantly. I really think he flips to Texas. He is visiting again. He plans on visiting for the Georgia game. I believe he was already on campus for the UTSA game. He's currently committed to Florida. Guys, go watch the Mississippi State versus Florida game. Florida is terrible on the defensive line, and they have talented guys. So to me, they are not developing these guys at all. If I'm Texas, I'm throwing on that film and I'm like, this guy was a 4-star. This guy was a high 3-star. This guy was a 5-star. And look what they're doing to him. This guy's a 3-star from Georgia. Listen, man, we can turn you into something. We can get you to the NFL. Look at our defensive line. There's a couple 3-stars on our defensive line that are turning out well. There's 4-stars that are turning out well. Obviously, 5-stars should turn out well, so I wouldn't pitch them that. But Florida is not doing well there. I would just throw on tape and be like, brother, why would you want to play for them? And I do. I think he flips to Texas. I'm very high on this guy. I like him. He's a massive build, 6'4.5", 275. You can put a lot of weight on that frame still. He'd be a perfect guy to play on the inside. I think he'd play 3 or 4 technique. Honestly, he could play across the defensive line depending on how you want to mold his body. But I'm big on him. I think he'll end up being a 4-star by everything I've seen when everything's said and done. And then a guy that really just kind of crept onto the scene for Texas, Walter Mathis Jr., 3-star from Georgia, but he's committed to LSU. He's going to visit Mississippi State. So this weekend with his parents, he's never been to campus. So this is a very big first impression for Texas for a good player. Honestly, if we get Joseph Mbachu and we get some of these other guys I expect us to get, this guy kind of becomes he's not a need anymore. He's more of a like a pleasure pick, honestly. If we can get him, that'd be nice, but we don't need him. If we don't get some of these guys, then we do kind of need to get him still because we're still a little bit thin on the inside with Myron Charles and Josiah Sharma. You would like to get 3 to 4 of those guys in the class. And guys, remember, we're going from 85 scholarships to 105. So that is big. In my opinion, I've said this, I would get lower guys like this. Like he's a low 3-star recruit. If you can get someone like this and pay him decently well and get him in the program for 2 years and then have him start, basically stashing players on the defensive and offensive line, that would really help out Texas, and that would drive us into a new galaxy, a new universe, whatever you want to say. It would take us into a new level that we haven't seen around here in a long time. So that's how I think I would handle it. I think the staff I'm kind of seeing is handling it the same thing as well, because you're seeing more defensive line offers from this staff. So I think that's what they want to do as well. And guess what? The more guys you have, the more misses you can afford. If you have only 4 guys in your class on the defensive line, 4 or 5 guys, and you miss out on 2 of them, that's not very good. If you have 8 guys in your class and you miss out on 4 of them, then you got 4 instead of 2. So that's what I think is going to happen for Texas. I think they are prioritizing the lines of scrimmage with the extra scholarship offers. And that does it for the weekly recruiting update. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. I really appreciate you guys being here. I'm going to take a water break because I've been talking for 27 minutes straight. And then we're going to get into the Mississippi State preview and prediction. So Texas plays their first game in the SEC versus Mississippi State. They are currently, and it actually went up. I checked right before. It may have gone up or down since then, but as of about 45 minutes ago, Texas is a 38.5-point favorite for their first SEC game. The over-under is set at 61.5 points. When I saw this line, I was like, wow, that's a lot of points. But then you got to remember, Toledo beat Mississippi State by 24 points. And my early indication, I thought it was going to be like 27.5. But if Toledo beat them by 24, Texas should obviously beat them by way more. Do I think that's more of a flukish game? Like if they played 100 times, do I think Toledo beats Mississippi State by 24 every time? No, I think the average would probably end up being Toledo wins that game by 10 points. But they still lost them. And then they got absolutely killed by, if you watch over on the SEC channel, I do videos over there as well. We actually have a live show tomorrow at 8 Eastern time. So if you want to talk SEC, check that out with my boy Tyler. I had Florida as the second worst team. I had Mississippi State as the worst team. And Florida beat them by 17 points. So that is not good for Mississippi State. 38. Yeah, I was shocked when I first saw it. It's 38.5 now, so it's even more. 38.5 is crazy. But it makes sense because we're going to get into the stats. We're going to get into some of the players. Mississippi State, I knew going into the season they were going to be bad. I don't know why, because I said this like roster-wise. I said Mississippi State has the worst roster in the SEC. I still put Vanderbilt to finish last, which isn't going to be true. It's going to be Mississippi State. Mississippi State is my second worst team, so I wasn't that far off, but I should have put them as my worst. I don't know why I didn't. There's that, and I'm trying to think if there was a team I was too high on. I guess LSU was slightly too high on. I'm at 9-3. But that's really it. I think I did pretty well on my SEC predictions. But